Some of the most painful betrayals don't come from strangers, they come from people we thought were close to us. And the hardest part, it's rarely obvious. They smile in your face, laugh at your jokes, maybe even hug you tight, but deep down something feels off. That's because not every enemy announces themselves. Sometimes the people who secretly dislike you are the ones standing right beside you. And if you don't know the signs, you'll confuse their hate for love, their jealousy for friendship, and their resentment for loyalty. Let's talk about those signs, because once you can see them, you can protect yourself. When someone close to you secretly hates you, the first thing you'll notice isn't always their words, it's how their support feels. On the surface, they might say all the right things. They might tell you, "I'm proud of you," or "That's amazing," but underneath it feels hollow. You can hear the words, but you don't feel the weight of them. Real support has an energy to it. You know when someone is genuinely excited for you because their encouragement doesn't stop with a sentence. It shows up in their tone, in their eyes, in the way they keep bringing up your wins like they're just as proud as you are. Fake support doesn't have that. It feels forced, rehearsed, or worse. It comes with conditions. And that's the dangerous part. When support is conditional, it isn't really support at all. It's a transaction. They'll clap for you as long as your success doesn't outshine theirs. They'll be in your corner as long as you're not too far ahead. They'll tell you they're cheering for you. But if you ever notice their energy shifts the moment you accomplish something bigger than they expected, pay attention. Because genuine love doesn't keep score. Genuine love doesn't pull away when you rise, it rises with you. Sometimes this conditional support shows up in small ways that are easy to ignore. They might say, "That's great, but don't get too carried away," as if to keep you in check. Or they'll only celebrate with you when there's something in it for them. Maybe your success gives them access to a room they couldn't enter on their own. Or maybe your connections benefit them indirectly. The minute your success stops serving their interests, the celebration ends. And that reveals the truth. It wasn't about being proud of you. It was about what they could get from standing next to you. Other times, it's even more subtle. You'll share something you've been working hard for, something you've poured yourself into, and instead of leaning in with genuine excitement, they'll offer a flat response. Maybe a quick, nice, or a smile that doesn't touch their eyes. And afterward, you feel emptier than before you told them. That's not how support is supposed to feel. Sharing your joy with someone you trust should multiply the joy, not drain it. You can also see conditional support in the way they show up for you publicly versus privately. In private, they might dismiss your ideas or minimize your growth, but in public, they'll act like your number one fan. Why? Because public support makes them look good. It gives the appearance of loyalty without requiring the heart behind it. That kind of performance can confuse you because you'll start doubting your instincts, wondering if maybe you're reading too much into things. But the truth is, your gut doesn't lie. If the support doesn't feel safe, it's not real. This is why it's so important to look past the words and pay attention to the patterns. Do they only support you when they're in a good season, but withdraw when you're in the spotlight? Do they suddenly get competitive when you achieve something they wanted for themselves? Do they encourage you only when they believe you'll fail, so that if you succeed, it surprises them more than it excites them? These aren't the actions of someone who wants the best for you. These are the signs of someone secretly hoping you don't get too far ahead. And the hardest part is admitting that people you thought were for you might only be for you on their terms. It hurts because we want to believe the people closest to us are rooting for us without condition. But the sooner you recognize when support feels forced, the sooner you can protect your peace. You don't need cheerleaders who clap out of obligation or jealousy. You need people who clap because their love for you is real, unconditional, and consistent. Because the truth is, support that's forced isn't support at all. It's control disguised as love. One of the clearest signs that someone close to you secretly hates you is the way they respond to your success. Pay close attention, because real friends will celebrate your wins like they're their own. They'll light up when you share good news. They'll brag about you behind your back in the best way possible, and they'll push you even higher because your growth doesn't threaten them. But when someone harbors hidden resentment, your success becomes their trigger. Instead of seeing it as something to admire, they see it as something that diminishes them. It often shows up in the form of downplaying what you've accomplished. You tell them about a promotion, and they say, "Oh, anyone could have gotten that if they just worked harder." You buy a new car, and they shrug, "Well, it's just a car." Payments must be rough. You finally reach a personal goal, and they turn it into a joke to cut down the significance. It's never a straightforward, "I'm proud of you." It's always packaged in sarcasm, comparison, or backhanded compliments that leave you questioning if you should even be proud of yourself in the first place. That's the part that hurts the most, because instead of your joy being amplified, it gets minimized. You walk away from the conversation feeling smaller, not bigger. And when you notice that pattern, you have to recognize it for what it is: envy disguised as indifference. They don't want to acknowledge your win because acknowledging it means confronting their own insecurities. Sometimes this downplaying is subtle. They might shift the topic quickly after you share your news, as if it's not worth discussing. They might only give you a short, dismissive response like, "That's cool," before steering the conversation back to themselves. And sometimes it's blatant. They'll tell you flat out that what you've accomplished isn't that impressive. Either way, the message is the same: your growth makes them uncomfortable. What makes this tricky is that these people aren't always openly negative. They can mask it well, sometimes even joining in on the celebration, but listen closely to the undertone. Do they celebrate you in a way that still centers them? Do they say things like, "Wow, you finally caught up to me," or "I guess now we're on the same level"? That's not true celebration. That's competition. And when someone secretly hates you, they can't celebrate you without comparing themselves to you. This is why it's so important to watch how they react, not just in the moment, but afterward. Do they distance themselves when you're doing well? Do they become less responsive when life is going good for you? Because someone who loves you will lean in when you rise. Someone who secretly resents you will pull back because your success feels like their failure. And here's the sad truth: sometimes the people who minimize your achievements aren't strangers or acquaintances. They're the ones closest to you. Family, friends, coworkers, even partners. And it hurts more coming from them because you expect them to be your biggest supporters. But instead of being a safe space, they become the voice that tries to shrink your moment. You cannot let someone else's inability to celebrate you rob you of your pride. Their reaction says more about them than it does about you. Their bitterness is not your burden to carry. The people who truly care about you will always make your victories feel even sweeter, not smaller. Because at the end of the day, someone who downplays your success is really just exposing the truth. They were never rooting for you to win. Another sign that someone close to you secretly hates you is that they disappear when you need them most. It's easy to be around when everything in your life is smooth, when there are celebrations, good news, and moments of joy. People love showing up for the highlight reel. They'll smile for pictures, raise a glass at your success, and laugh with you when everything is going your way. But the real test of loyalty, the real test of love, is who stays when life gets messy, when you're not winning, when you're hurting and vulnerable. And this is where the truth reveals itself. Someone who secretly resents you won't be there in those moments. They might check in occasionally for appearances, but they won't really show up. When you're grieving, they're silent. When you're struggling financially, they suddenly become too busy. When you're anxious, when you're scared, when you just need someone to listen, They vanish into excuses, into delays, into silence. Because deep down, your pain doesn't move them. It doesn't call them to action because their investment in you was never genuine to begin with. It's a hard pill to swallow because you expect the closest people in your life to lean in when the storms hit. And when they don't, it feels like betrayal. You start to ask yourself, did I matter as much to them as they mattered to me? Was I blind this whole time? That's the kind of emptiness their absence creates. It's not just about them not being there, it's about what their absence says. It says, your struggle doesn't matter enough to me. Your pain doesn't affect me. I'll return when things are easier again. And that's not love. That's convenience. Pay close attention to the patterns, because disappearing doesn't always mean they vanish physically. Sometimes they're there in body but absent in heart. They'll sit across from you, nodding, maybe giving a few polite responses, but you can feel they're not present. Their energy is checked out, their concern feels shallow, and instead of helping lift your burden, they make you feel even more alone. That kind of absence is louder than silence. Contrast that with someone who truly cares for you. A real friend doesn't have to have the right words, doesn't have to fix your problems, doesn't have to offer solutions. Their presence alone is healing. They sit with you in the dark, and that alone is enough. They show up not because it's easy, but because you matter to them. That's what love does. It stays. Someone who secretly hates you doesn't want to stay in the dark with you. In fact, sometimes your struggles give them a twisted kind of satisfaction, because when you're down, they feel elevated. When you're broken, they feel powerful. So instead of showing up, they keep their distance, quietly feeding on the fact that you're not at your best. That's not just absence. That's cruelty wrapped in silence. The truth is, people reveal themselves in your weakest moments. If they can only be counted on in the good times, then they were never truly for you in the first place. Life is full of ups and downs, and the ones who disappear in the downs were only ever there for the ups. And that's not friendship, that's not loyalty, that's conditional proximity. So when you find yourself in your darkest hour and you notice who's missing, don't ignore it. Don't make excuses for it. Believe what it's showing you, because someone who vanishes when you need them most has already told you everything you need to know about where you stand in their life. Another way you can tell someone close to you secretly hates you is in the way they compete with you. Now, competition on its own isn't always a bad thing. Healthy competition can push us, it can inspire us, it can make us better. But there's a difference between someone being inspired by you and someone being threatened by you. When a person who's supposed to love you starts turning everything into a silent contest, what they're really showing you is that they don't see you as a teammate. They see you as an opponent. It shows up in ways you might not notice at first. You share an accomplishment, and instead of being proud of you, they immediately counter with something they've done. You talk about a milestone, and suddenly they've got to one-up it like your success is a challenge to theirs. And the thing about it is, they don't even have to say it out loud. You can feel it. You can feel how your joy makes them restless, how your growth makes them anxious, how every step forward you take feels to them like a step backward for themselves. Someone who truly cares for you doesn't need to compete. They're not keeping score because they see your wins as their wins. They understand that your lane is your lane and theirs is theirs. But someone who secretly resents you will blur those lines. They'll copy what you do, not because they admire it, but because they're trying to keep up. They'll compare themselves to you, not to get better, but to measure whether they're falling behind. And they'll disguise it as ambition, when in reality, it's insecurity. Think about how heavy that can feel in a relationship. Instead of being able to relax and share your life freely, you start shrinking yourself so they don't feel threatened. You downplay your success, you soften your excitement, you hold back your progress, because deep down you know it'll trigger their need to compete. That's what being around someone like this does. It forces you to dim your light just so they don't feel uncomfortable in your presence. And when that happens, you've got to stop and ask yourself, if someone close to me secretly needs me to stay small so they can feel big, what does that say about the relationship? The truth is, love doesn't compete with you. Love supports you. Love says, I want you to win even if you win bigger than me. I want you to succeed even if I haven't reached my success yet. I want you to shine even if I'm standing in the shadows. That's what real closeness looks like. Anything else is a disguised rivalry. And here's where it gets dangerous. Sometimes that competition turns into sabotage. They may not admit it, but jealousy can push them to plant little seeds of doubt in your mind. They'll tell you your dreams are too big. They'll mock your progress. They'll criticize your choices, not because they want to protect you, but because they want to slow you down. Because if you move too far ahead, they lose the illusion of being equal. And instead of clapping for you, they'd rather clip your wings. You deserve people who don't just run beside you, but who cheer from the sidelines when it's your turn to run ahead. You deserve people who can celebrate your season without comparing it to their own. And if someone in your circle can't handle your success without secretly turning it into a competition, then that's not closeness. That's quiet hostility. Because the moment someone starts seeing you as competition instead of connection, they've already told you they're not really on your team. Another way you can tell someone close to you secretly hates you is by paying attention to their energy when they're around you. People can lie with their words, but it's very hard for them to lie with their body. Our instincts pick up on things long before our mind makes sense of them. You might not be able to explain it at first, but you'll feel it. The way the atmosphere changes when they walk in the room, the shift in tone when you speak, the stiffness in their body when you share something positive. Energy doesn't lie. Maybe they smile, but the smile doesn't reach their eyes. Maybe they laugh at your jokes, but it's the kind of laugh that feels forced, almost rehearsed. Maybe when you're talking about something exciting, they avoid eye contact or cross their arms like they're shutting themselves off from your joy. These things might seem small, but together they paint a bigger picture. Someone who genuinely loves you can't help but radiate warmth. Their presence feels open, inviting, safe. Someone who secretly resents you makes you feel like you're being tolerated, not loved. You can notice it in conversations too. They might give short answers, or their tone might carry an edge when they respond to you. They might sigh, roll their eyes, or change the subject quickly when you bring up something good happening in your life. And here's the key. It's not always about what they say, it's about what they don't say. The silence after your excitement, the lack of enthusiasm when you expected joy, the absence of curiosity when you share your heart. Those unspoken moments often speak louder than words. The hardest part is, this shift in energy can make you doubt yourself. You might think, maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe I'm just being sensitive. But you're not. The body reveals what the heart tries to hide. Someone who secretly hates you can dress their words up in kindness, but their energy betrays them every single time. You'll notice it in how they position themselves around you, how they lean back when you lean in, how they create distance instead of closeness, how their warmth is conditional depending on whether you're up or down. And here's something to really pay attention to today: consistency. A real friend is consistent with their energy. They may have bad days, they may be tired or distracted, but you never question whether they care. Even in their off moments, you can still feel their loyalty, but someone who secretly resents you will have a pattern of subtle negativity. It's not just once, it's over and over again. Every time you share your light, they find a way to dim it with their silence, their sarcasm, or their indifference. That kind of environment wears you down, because instead of being able to celebrate freely, you start shrinking your happiness. You stop sharing good news. You start editing your joy, because deep down you already know how they'll react. And when you find yourself hiding parts of your life just to avoid someone's energy, that's your sign. That's your body telling you the truth your heart doesn't want to accept. This person doesn't really celebrate you. They just endure you. It's a painful realization, but it's also freeing. Because once you start trusting the energy over the words, you stop second guessing yourself. You stop making excuses for people who keep showing you through their actions, through their body language, through their presence, that they don't truly want the best for you. Because at the end of the day, words can be faked, but energy never lies. Another sign that someone close to you secretly hates you is the way they handle your name when you're not in the room. Gossip, the quiet killer of trust. The thing about gossip is it doesn't just happen, it's fueled by something. And when it comes from someone who's supposed to be close to you, it's fueled by resentment. A person who truly loves you protects your name when you're not around. They defend you when others try to twist your story. They honor the parts of you that you've entrusted to them. But someone who secretly resents you will do the opposite. They'll take the private pieces of you, the vulnerable things you've shared, and hand them over to others like currency. It doesn't always look like blatant trash talk. Sometimes it's subtle. They'll repeat your secrets casually in conversations, almost like it's no big deal. They'll expose your struggles under the disguise of concern. I'm just worried about them, they'll say, while broadcasting your pain to ears that don't need to hear it. Or they'll add their own spin to your story, twisting your words just enough to create a different picture, one that benefits them or diminishes you. That's not friendship. That's sabotage dressed up as honesty. What makes this so dangerous is the betrayal it creates. Because gossip from strangers stings, but gossip from someone close to you cuts deep. It's not just the words, it's the realization that the trust you gave them was never safe. You thought they were holding your confidence, but really they were holding ammunition. And every time they share a piece of your life without your permission, what they're really saying is, I don't value enough to protect you. Pay attention to how often your private moments seem to become public knowledge. Do things you've only told one person have a way of coming back to you through different voices? Do people know details of your life you never shared with them directly? That's not coincidence. That's a pipeline. And usually that pipeline runs through the one who secretly doesn't want to see you win. Sometimes gossip even comes wrapped in a smile. They'll talk behind your back, but to your face, they'll act supportive. That too, faced energy is one of the clearest signs of hidden hatred, because love doesn't need two versions. Love is consistent in front of you and behind you. If someone has two versions of how they treat you, then the version behind your back is the one that's real. The truth is, people who gossip about you reveal more about themselves than they do about you. They're showing you their envy, their disloyalty, and their inability to celebrate you without cutting you down. And while it hurts, it's also clarity. Because the people who can't be trusted with your name don't deserve your presence. It's hard when this sign shows up in someone close to you because it forces you to rethink everything you've shared with them. But that's the gift hidden in the pain. It teaches you to guard your circle more carefully. It shows you that trust should be earned, not assumed. And it reminds you that the people who talk about you are rarely the ones walking with you. Because at the end of the day, if someone gossips about you when you're not around, they've already told you exactly where they stand.